As the morning sun bathed the world in golden light, 9-year-old Peggy Thompson sat outside Mike's Gas and Go, counting her precious quarters from a vibrant unicorn purse. Her loyal companion Max, a German shepherd with a heart as big as his bark, stayed close, his amber eyes watching over her. It was a picture of innocence, until the peaceful atmosphere was broken by the rumble of motorcycles. Suddenly, 15 bikers roared in, their gleaming chrome reflecting the sunlight. Among them, a towering figure with a scarred face stepped forward, his leather vest adorned with a striking viper. As the other customers hurried inside, Peggy remained calm, her spirit untouched, with Max beside her, ready to protect. "Little girl out walking her puppy?" The man, called Havoc, taunted, his voice booming across the lot. In that moment, Max sensed the tension and stood tall, muscles coiled like a spring, emanating a silent strength that made even the toughest bikers hesitate. Havoc's hand shot out, seizing Peggy's small arm with a grip that was fierce, yet met with a remarkable calm. "In our town, little girls pay a toll," he sneered. But instead of fear, Peggy showed something profound, a quiet courage. With her free hand, she made a subtle signal, 3 fingers raised and then curling inward, a signal of trust and unity. In an instant, Max shifted from a watchful companion to a fierce protector. There was no barking or lunging. He remained still, his gaze locked onto Havoc with an intensity that belied his gentle nature. The biker's bravado wavered under the weight of that gaze. "Control your mutt, kid," they spat. But Peggy, her voice steady like a river, replied, "He's not just a mutt, and he's not the one you should be worried about." As she reached for her phone, a flicker of uncertainty crossed Havoc's face, hinting that he had underestimated the bond between this little girl and her dog. Unbeknownst to them, this encounter would spark a journey of bravery and transformation, uncovering buried truths that would change the town of Riverstone forever, echoing the resilience of those who have faced hardship and emerged victorious. Please give a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments, along with your city. Now let's dive into this heartwarming story. Meet Margaret Peggy Thompson, a remarkable 9-year-old with a unique perspective on life. Diagnosed with mild autism at the tender age of 4, she found solace in patterns, in the gentle companionship of animals, especially her beloved German shepherd Max. With her shimmering coppery red hair and freckled face, Peggy's deep green eyes held a captivating focus on the world around her. After the passing of her mother 2 years ago, she discovered her voice through Max, who was not just a pet, but her loyal protector and therapy companion. Max had been lovingly trained by her mother, Catherine Thompson, a distinguished K-9 handler in the Army, before cancer took her too soon. Their cozy home on Maple Street in Riverstone, Virginia, where the community felt like family, was a backdrop to Peggy's journey. At night, she would often listen to her father pacing, battling his own memories from his time in Afghanistan, a testament to the strength of their bond. Colonel Iron Jack Morrison, Peggy's father, earned his nickname from surviving an IED explosion that claimed the lives of 3 of his comrades. While the physical scars healed, the psychological wounds lingered, making the challenge of raising his special needs daughter alone even more profound. Iron Jack was not just a veteran. He was a respected leader of the Veterans Guard, a motorcycle club filled with brave combat veterans. These men and women were not outlaws. They were everyday heroes, mechanics, teachers, and business owners who shared a bond of military precision and brotherhood. They gathered weekly at the local VFW hall, where laughter often broke through the weight of shared trauma, creating a sanctuary of support and resilience. Their club was a beacon of survival, a reminder that together they could face any storm. However, darkness loomed in Riverstone with the arrival of the Shadow Vipers, led by Marcus Havoc Reynolds. Behind his intimidating facade lay a painful story. His younger brother Samuel returned from war paralyzed and struggling with inadequate care. Havoc's anger at the military for abandoning his brother fueled his vendetta against anyone associated with the armed forces. As Havoc's gang began pressuring local businesses for protection money, particularly those owned by veterans, tensions escalated in the community. Sheriff Roberts, though underfunded and short-staffed, documented the growing unrest, determined to maintain peace. For Peggy, every Tuesday brought a comforting routine. Her father would drop her off at Diana's diner for pancakes with her loving godmother, Diana. Afterward, she and Max would stroll the 3 blocks to Mike's Gas and go to pick up her weekly comic book, a small but joyful ritual before heading to her therapy session, where she would continue to blossom. Diana had been her mother's closest confidant since their school days, and she honored that bond with a beautiful ritual after Catherine's passing. This routine brought comfort to Peggy, grounding her in the chaos of life. "Remember, straight there and back," Diana encouraged, lovingly adjusting Peggy's red backpack. "Dr. Martinez expects you at 10. Peggy nodded earnestly, her determination clear. "I know the way. Max knows too." The September morning was painted with the first hints of fall as leaves danced on the edges, whispering promises of change and new beginnings. Max walked perfectly at heel beside Peggy, his military training shining through in every precise step. To casual onlookers, he was just an exceptionally well-mannered pet, but those who understood recognized the special harness with its discreet military markings, a testament to his service and loyalty. As they entered Mike's store, Jimmy Carson, the friendly attendant in his 20s, greeted them with a wave. "Morning, Miss Peggy. I've got your new Astro Girl saved behind the counter." "Thank you, Jimmy," Peggy replied, her voice warm yet formal, a habit she maintained with everyone except her father and Max. She moved with purpose, selecting a bottle of water and a small bag of dog treats for Max, placing them on the counter with careful, confident movements. Their tranquil routine was suddenly disrupted by the arrival of the Shadow Vipers. Motorcycles roared into the lot, a cacophony that felt like a storm brewing. Peggy's face paled as she muttered, "Not again," reaching for her phone with a racing heart. This was the third incident this week. Max, sensing her unease, instinctively positioned himself between Peggy and the door, shifting from a companion to a protector without a word. Though her heart raced, Peggy focused on her breathing, recalling her therapist's calming techniques. 4 counts in, hold for 7, out for 8. She was determined to stay centered, no matter what. The tension escalated as Havoc strode in, flanked by 2 imposing figures identified as Snake and Diesel. The atmosphere thickened with intimidation as Havoc slammed his hand on the counter, rattling the candy display. "Well, if it isn't Jimmy boy," he sneered, casting a calculating gaze around the store. Peggy swallowed hard, her voice steady despite the fear. "I told you yesterday I don't own this place. Mr. Mike will be back tomorrow. You need to talk to him." Havoc's tone grew menacing, but Peggy held her ground, drawing strength from within. She knew that with Max by her side and the support of her loved ones, she could face any challenge that came her way. "Every business contributes. Not tomorrow. Today." My heart raced as I stood frozen by the comic book rack, my fingers gripping Max's harness tightly. I wished I could disappear, but Diesel's piercing gaze had already locked onto me. "You got a customer, Jimmy," he said, his voice calm yet unsettling. When Havoc turned to notice me for the first time, I sensed a shift in his demeanor. His intimidation transformed into something darker. The military dog, Max, sensed the tension immediately. "Let me guess. Daddy's a soldier," Havoc sneered. I didn't respond, though my chin lifted slightly, a gesture of defiance I inherited from my father. He moved closer, towering over me, his presence overwhelming. "I asked you a question, kid. Your daddy plays soldier?" My voice came out strong. "Colonel," I corrected instinctively, regretting it when I saw Havoc's expression darken. "Colonel, huh? Well, ain't that special?" He circled us, and Max positioned himself protectively between me and the looming threat. "Military types think they're better than everyone else, better than guys like us." I heard Jimmy's voice crack as he called out, "Leave her alone. She's just a kid." Havoc smirked, "Just teaching a life lesson, Jimmy boy." In a sudden move, he grabbed my backpack, yanking it off my shoulders. "Let's see what the colonel's daughter carries around." Max's response was immediate, a low, controlled growl, a promise of protection rather than a threat. Some of the bikers behind Havoc shifted nervously. "That dog looks serious, Havoc," one of them muttered, retreating a step. "It's just a mutt," Havoc replied, though his hand hesitated before ripping my backpack open and scattering its contents across the floor. Comics, therapy workbooks, and a framed photo of my mom in her military uniform shattered on the linoleum. I felt a wave of determination wash over me as I stared at the broken picture. Despite my trembling hands, I made a subtle gesture, 3 fingers extended, then curled inward. It was a special signal my mom taught me for moments of danger. Max didn't lunge or bark. Instead, he became completely still, a focused protector poised for action. I could feel the tension in the air shift. Even Havoc took an involuntary step back. "Control your dog, kid," he warned, his bravado faltering, "before something bad happens to it." When I spoke, my voice was steady beyond my years. "His name is Max. He was my mom's military working dog in Afghanistan. He found 37 IEDs and saved 114 soldiers." The weight of my words hung in the air, and even Havoc seemed taken aback. Diesel's eyes narrowed, intrigued. "MEM-BD, what unit?" As Peggy stood there, her heart raced, but she remained steady, her spirit unbroken. Havoc's grip tightened, and his impatience spilled over. "Respect is key in this town," he declared. But Max, her loyal companion, sensed the tension rising. A deep, primal sound rumbled in his chest, a signal that he was ready to protect. Meanwhile, Jimmy was frantically trying to call for help. "The police won't arrive for at least 15 minutes, Havoc sneered, confident in his power. Yet Peggy, with quiet determination, reached into her pocket. "I'm not calling the police," she replied softly, her voice a beacon of hope. Havoc's mockery was met with Peggy's calm resolve, which seemed to unnerve him more than any tears could. "You know what my mom taught me before she passed?" she asked, her finger poised over the speed dial. "True courage isn't about strength. It's about knowing when to reach out for help." With those 6 powerful words, Peggy connected the call that would transform Riverstone. "Dad, we need the Veterans Guard." Suddenly, a thunderous sound filled the air. Motorcycles, dozens of them, their engines roaring in unison, a powerful reminder of unity and strength. The Veterans Guard had arrived, and with it, a wave of relief washed over Peggy. Havoc, realizing he was outmatched, released her arm and retreated. Max instinctively positioned himself beside her, a steadfast guardian ready to protect. Through the gas station's windows, they saw the veterans forming a protective circle, their bikes arranged with military precision to block any escape. Colonel Jack "Iron Jack" Morrison led the charge, his silver-streaked hair and seasoned face reflecting a life of service. His simple leather vest, adorned only with an American flag and unit insignia, spoke volumes of his humility and strength. As the other veterans dismounted, Peggy felt a surge of hope. They stood as a formidable presence representing every branch of service, their calm discipline more powerful than any shout. "This is a mistake," Snake warned Havoc, glancing nervously at the wall of veterans. "There are at least 30 of them." 43, Diesel replied calmly, demonstrating his keen awareness of the situation. Iron Jack approached, his eyes locking onto Peggy, scanning her for any sign of harm with the efficiency of a seasoned medic. "You okay, Pegs?" he asked, his voice steady, embodying the protective strength of a community that would always stand together. With a calm strength that belied her age, Peggy spoke up, pointing to the shattered frame. "They broke Mom's picture," she said, her voice steady. In that moment, Iron Jack felt a surge of protective instinct for the child. He locked eyes with Havoc, each man assessing the other with the intensity of seasoned warriors, neither willing to back down. "Your daughter needs to learn respect," Havoc said, trying to sound tough despite the odds against him. Iron Jack countered, his voice smooth and firm. "You're confusing respect with fear. True respect is earned, and I stand among those who know its value." The gas station had turned into a scene filled with tension, as Jimmy and the other patrons stood quietly against the wall, witnessing a clash of wills. Outside, the veterans held their ground, calm and resolute. "Are we done here, Havoc?" Diesel asked softly, cutting through the bravado with a dose of reality. "We're outnumbered and outpositioned." Havoc's face twisted with anger and embarrassment, but he had to acknowledge the truth. "This isn't over," he declared fiercely, looking between Iron Jack and Peggy. "Not by a long shot, but today we hold onto our strength." "For today it is, Iron Jack," Peggy responded with quiet authority. "My daughter and I are going home now. I suggest you and your friends do the same." The Shadow Vipers retreated, their motorcycles roaring to life as they left the scene, though their pride was shaken. Once they were gone, Iron Jack knelt to Peggy's level, his demeanor shifting to one of compassion. "I'm so sorry, sweetheart," he said gently, collecting the remnants of the broken photograph. We'll fix this together, I promise. By noon, the story of courage and protection spread like wildfire through Riverstone. Inside Diana's diner, the lunch crowd was buzzing with divided opinions, just like the booths that separated them. The veterans showed them who's boss. Tom Mason, the hardware store owner, exclaimed, relieved to see someone stand up to the Shadow Vipers after months of fear. It's about time. But Sarah Williams, the elementary school principal, cautioned, and what happens when the veterans aren't around? You really think those bikers will just back down? They'll return, angrier than before. Sheriff Roberts sat at the counter, sipping his coffee, feeling the weight of the community's concerns growing heavier. At 62, with 3 decades of dedicated service in law enforcement and a past enriched by his tours in Vietnam, Sheriff Roberts was keenly aware of escalating situations. Jack, he said, as Iron Jack entered with Peggy and Max, we need to talk. Privately. The sheriff's office, though worn with time and budget constraints, was alive with purpose. Closing the door, Roberts offered Peggy a lollipop from his desk drawer, a small gesture of comfort before addressing the serious matter at hand. This is going to get tougher before it gets better, he said earnestly. With only 2 deputies for the entire county and the state police stretched thin, I can't guarantee protection for every business in town. Iron Jack nodded, understanding the constraints but confident in their resolve. We're not asking you to do it all, Bill. The Veterans Guard can manage security. Roberts urged caution. Vigilante justice isn't the solution. These Shadow Vipers are not mere local troublemakers. They have ties to larger networks, establishing trafficking routes across 3 counties. Iron Jack countered passionately. That's all the more reason to stand firm now, before they take deeper root in our community. Peggy sat quietly, unwrapping her lollipop, yet fully engaged, absorbing each word with the sharp focus she was known for. They'll target you directly now, Roberts warned gently, casting a concerned glance at Peggy. Not just the veterans, but your family too. That little girl is precious. I understand, Iron Jack replied, his determination evident as he clenched his jaw. We've already initiated our preparations. Meanwhile, in the shadows of an abandoned warehouse, the Shadow Vipers clubhouse buzzed with tension. Havoc paced angrily, knocking over chairs and smashing empty bottles against the wall, while his gang watched with unease. One phone call, he fumed. One call, and those military personnel will assemble as if they were still in uniform. Who does that self-righteous colonel think he is? Diesel, observing quietly, noted thoughtfully, they're organized and disciplined. This won't be like intimidating business owners or frightening teenagers. I don't care if they're Navy SEALs. This is our territory, and that little girl, she's the key, Havoc declared, his voice dripping with malice. Diesel, with a hint of professional respect, cautioned, that's not just a pet, it's a weapon with teeth. Havoc's smile twisted into something sinister. Then we'll have to neutralize it, won't we? Make some calls. I want every Shadow Viper within 100 miles in Riverstone by tomorrow. It's time this town learned the power of respect and community. As night embraced Riverstone, the air buzzed with a determination that would not only test the strength of its people, but also reveal the heart of its spirit. At the center of this unfolding story was a remarkable 9-year-old girl who embodied more courage and loyalty than many adults would ever encounter. By dawn's light, the Veterans Guard stood ready, a beacon of protection throughout Riverstone. Teams of 2 patrolled the streets on their motorcycles, while others stationed themselves outside vital businesses. Iron Jack transformed his garage into a bustling command center, meticulously organizing maps and communications like a seasoned strategist. The veterans moved with a precision that spoke of their unwavering commitment to their training. Peggy's morning routine shifted to prioritize safety. Instead of walking to school, she now rode with Mrs. Bennett, her father's dear friend, whose son was also in the special education program. Max, her loyal service dog, accompanied her everywhere, his vest a symbol of their unbreakable bond. The teachers were informed of the situation, their words carefully chosen to shield the other children from fear. Remember, Peggy? Iron Jack reminded her as he ensured her backpack was ready. If anything feels off, you press that button on your phone. I'll be there in a heartbeat. Peggy nodded with resolve. I know, Dad. Max understood too. The shadowy threat made its first move midweek as 2 motorcycles slowly circled Jefferson Elementary during recess, their presence a stark reminder of the challenges they faced. They made no aggressive moves, but the message was unmistakable. They were aware of Peggy's school. The Veterans Guard sprang into action, positioning 4 members around the school's perimeter as Principal Williams implemented a temporary indoor recess policy. "They're testing our response," Iron Jack communicated to Sarah Chin, a dedicated member of the Veterans Guard and a former intelligence officer. "They want to see how we react and what resources we have." "Classic reconnaissance," Sarah acknowledged, diligently updating their surveillance notes. "But their interest in the school is troubling. They're signaling a willingness to target the most innocent." "Not just any child," Iron Jack corrected with a fierce determination. "My child. This is personal for Havoc now." The situation intensified the next day when Max was put in harm's way. Peggy and her classmates were returning from the library when a pickup truck swerved dangerously close to the sidewalk, where they walked in a neat line, a chilling reminder of the stakes they faced. In a moment of pure instinct, Max leaped into action, pushing little Peggy out of harm's way just as the truck barreled toward them. The German Shepherd took the hit instead, tumbling across the grass with a heart-wrenching yelp. As Peggy sat beside him at the vet's office, her small hand resting gently on his sedated form, she felt a mix of fear and love. "He'll need surgery for his dislocated hip," the veterinarian said. But Iron Jack, with determination in his eyes, replied, "Whatever it costs, we'll do it." Max had not only saved Peggy's life, he had ignited a spark of unity in their community. Max's bravery became the catalyst for an incredible wave of support in Riverstone. That evening, the town hall meeting was alive with energy, overflowing with concerned citizens eager to make a change. Mayor Wilson, usually reserved and cautious, found himself facing an impassioned crowd demanding justice. As he wiped the sweat from his brow, he assured everyone that the police were doing their best. But the townspeople, like a family fighting for one of their own, wouldn't back down. Voices rose in frustration as Tom Mason shared his own struggles, highlighting the urgency of the situation. The crowd echoed his concerns, their voices rising into a chorus of determination. Sheriff Roberts stepped forward, his face serious but hopeful, explaining that they were diligently working to build a solid case. The community rallied, knowing they were stronger together. "What do we do? Just wait until someone gets hurt?" Diana's voice rang out, filled with courage. Then a small voice broke through the tension. "My mom always said that fighting fire with fire just burns everything down." All heads turned to see Peggy standing there, her red hair shining brightly in the dim light. Although Iron Jack moved to support her, Peggy found her strength and pressed on, her words full of wisdom. "Before she passed, my mom trained dogs to protect soldiers. She taught me that true protection comes from being smart and working together, not from anger or fear." The room fell silent, captivated by the insight of a child who had already experienced profound loss. Mayor Wilson, recognizing the power of her words, smiled nervously and said, "Out of the mouths of babes, perhaps we should consider a more united, strategic approach." The seeds of hope and collaboration were sown, lighting the way for their community. "What do you mean by that?" Sarah Williams, the principal, challenged. "Are we really going to stand by and hold hands while these thugs terrorize our community?" The meeting quickly transformed into a debate, with some pushing for immediate action, while others leaned towards legal solutions. Amidst the chaos, Peggy sat quietly beside her father, observing the adults with the curiosity of a young anthropologist studying an unknown culture. Later that evening, as Iron Jack tucked her into bed, Peggy asked the question that had been on her mind since the town hall. "Dad, why is the man with the snake on his motorcycle so upset with veterans?" Iron Jack settled on the edge of her bed, choosing his words with care. "Sometimes, sweetheart, people misplace their anger. Havoc, the man with the snake, has a brother who served in the same war as I did and came home in need of special care. Just like how your mom needed help that was hard to find. When people feel hurt, they often lash out at those closest to them, even if it's not their fault." Iron Jack's heart felt heavy as he reflected on the situation. "Yes, that's part of it. Havoc holds the military responsible for the pain he feels over his brother's suffering." "So he blames us for that?" Iron Jack nodded thoughtfully. "It's true. Some people, like Havoc, feel the need to exert power over others when they feel powerless themselves. When our veterans stood up to him, we took away that power, and that's something he struggles to forgive. Peggy paused, her mind working through this complex web of emotions. Do you think his brother feels the same way about veterans? Iron Jack was momentarily taken aback by her insight. I'm not sure, Pegs. I've never met him. Maybe we should try, she suggested earnestly, her youthful wisdom shining through. Mom always said that understanding someone's pain is the first step to healing. Iron Jack smiled softly, brushing a stray hair from her forehead, proud of her perspective. Your mom had a beautiful way of seeing things, but some situations can be quite complicated, Iron Jack explained gently. Understanding others is never simple. True, Peggy replied with a surprising depth that resonated with her father's sentiment. It's one of the hardest journeys we can take. The following day brought a surprising turn of events when Sarah Chin rushed into the command center, her usual calm demeanor shaken. We have a problem, she revealed urgently to the assembled veterans. Someone in our town leadership is sharing information with the Shadow Vipers. As I looked around the room, I could feel the weight of uncertainty pressing on us all. Iron Jack's face clouded with concern as he asked, Are you sure? The revelation hit us hard. The truck that struck Max was no accident. It had targeted Peggy's route home from the library with chilling precision. Mike Donovan, our trusted electrician and a former Marine, speculated, could it be someone from the school staff? But Sarah's intuition warned, this is bigger. Someone knows our movements. Only a few have access to that kind of information. I glanced at the sheriff's office, knowing we had to get to the bottom of this. A palpable tension filled the air as we realized the betrayal could come from within. We need to uncover the truth, Iron Jack announced with determination. Let's feed different information to see which details reach them. But as Sarah voiced her concerns for Peggy's safety and Max's recovery, I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. We were stretched thin, juggling the demands of protecting our town while facing the looming threats. The financial burden of Max's surgery weighed heavily on Iron Jack. The $12,000 bill felt insurmountable, especially for a man living on a military pension and caring for a special needs child. He was sacrificing his prized motorcycle to make ends meet. Little did we know Peggy, our young heroine, was quietly absorbing it all. That afternoon, driven by love and determination, she persuaded Mrs. Bennett to stop by the veterinary clinic. While the kind woman chatted, Peggy slipped away, finding Max in a kennel, bandaged and recovering. I miss you at home, she whispered, her heart full of love. Dad tries to hide his worry, but I see him pacing at night, just like after Mom passed, Peggy murmured, tears glistening in her eyes as Max's tail gave a feeble thump against his bedding. They hurt you because of me, but I promise I'll make it right. Mom taught me how to be brave. Just then, the sound of footsteps echoed in the hallway, and she quickly wiped her tears, preparing to face whatever came next with the strength she had learned from her mother. As Peggy stood her ground, she looked up at the man, calling him by name with surprising confidence. You're the one called Diesel, she stated, her voice steady and clear. The man froze, caught off guard by the boldness of a 9-year-old. Slowly, he lowered his mask, revealing those calculating eyes she recognized from the gas station. And you must be Colonel Morrison's daughter, he replied, a hint of caution in his tone. You shouldn't be here alone. Neither should you, Peggy shot back, her logic sharp. You're not a veterinarian or a technician. A ghost of a smile flickered on Diesel's lips, acknowledging her bravery. Observant, just like your mother, he remarked, and the mention of her mom sent a surge of emotions through Peggy. You knew my mom? Peggy asked, curiosity piqued. I knew of her, Diesel clarified, keeping a respectful distance. Her reputation precedes her. Catherine Thompson was the finest K-9 trainer the Army ever had. That dog, he gestured towards Max, is a testament to her talent. But why are you here? Peggy pressed, her gaze unwavering. Are you going to hurt Max again? For a brief moment, Diesel's expression revealed a flicker of concern. I had nothing to do with that, he responded, his voice firm. Arming an animal, especially a military working dog, is beyond wrong. He paused, his expression filled with genuine disgust. Then why come here? Diesel studied her for a moment, contemplating his words. Professional curiosity. Military working dogs hold immense value. I wanted to see how badly he was injured. He needs expensive surgery, Peggy explained. Dad's selling his motorcycle to pay for it. Your father's Harley Softail? Diesel's tone shifted, revealing genuine surprise. He loves that bike. He loves me more, Peggy replied, her voice soft but resolute. And Max saved me. Before Diesel could respond, the sound of voices approaching interrupted them. Mrs. Bennett entered with a staff member, and Diesel quickly replaced his mask. He nodded once to Peggy, a silent acknowledgement, before slipping out through a back door, leaving her with a sense of hope and mystery. That evening, a mysterious envelope arrived at the Morrison home. Inside, Peggy discovered $6,000 in cash, along with a note that read, "For the dog's medical bills. Military working dogs deserve respect." There was no signature, but the look on Iron Jack's face as he examined the cash told Peggy he had his suspicions about where it came from. "Bad," he murmured, tucking the money into a drawer, clearly torn about accepting it. "I think not everyone in the Shadow Vipers is the same kind of bad," Peggy said with conviction, her heart full of hope and the belief that kindness can emerge in unexpected places. Iron Jack turned to her, intrigue in his eyes. "What makes you say that?" Peggy hesitated, sensing that sharing her experience with Diesel might close an important door. "Just a feeling," she said softly, "like how some kids act tough when their friends are around, but show their true selves when they're alone." Iron Jack seemed to age before her eyes, the weight of the world evident in the lines etched on his face. "I hope you're right, Pegs, because this situation feels like a storm brewing, and I fear for everyone caught in it." Little did they know the next day would bring a revelation that would change everything. As Iron Jack met with Sheriff Roberts to discuss a potential leak, Peggy's Aunt Lisa, his younger sister, arrived unannounced, her serious demeanor signaling the urgency of her message. "It's about the Shadow Vipers, and it's about me," Lisa began, her voice steady, but her eyes reflecting concern. What she shared would shift the entire conflict in unexpected ways. Lisa, a compassionate nurse at the county hospital, had been dating a man named Daniel for 3 months. Recently, he revealed his true identity as Daniel Snake Williams, a key figure in the chaos. "He's not like the others, Jack," she implored, facing her brother's stunned silence. "He was trying to escape this life before it spiraled out of control. Now he's in too deep, scared of what might happen if he tries to break free. And you're sharing this with me now?" Iron Jack's voice was a quiet storm. "After my daughter was nearly harmed and her dog was run down?" Lisa's eyes pleaded for understanding. "He has been feeding me information, warning me about dangers so I could relay it to you. How do you think you knew to have men at the school that day? It wasn't luck, Jack. It was his bravery that kept us one step ahead." In that moment, Iron Jack felt the weight of responsibility heavy on his heart. "He's your source," he said to Sheriff Roberts, who had been quiet since Lisa's heartfelt confession. Roberts nodded, confirming their bond. Confidential informants are often the unsung heroes of law enforcement. "And you didn't think to tell me my sister was involved with a Shadow Viper?" Iron Jack's composure was fraying, his hands trembling with the burden of his past. "We keep it on a need-to-know basis," Roberts replied, unyielding. Yet Iron Jack knew that sometimes sharing the burden could lighten the load. "The fewer people who are aware, the safer it is for everyone involved, including your sister," Iron Jack reminded softly. Just then, Peggy's voice cut through the tension. "Dad?" She stood in the doorway, Max's empty cushion cradled in her arms, her innocent eyes wide with concern. The room fell silent, the weight of their voices suddenly clear in the stillness of the house. "Is Aunt Lisa in trouble?" Iron Jack inhaled deeply, gathering his strength to shield his daughter from the chaos. "No, sweetheart. Aunt Lisa is helping us understand some things about the people who have hurt Max. It's complicated adult stuff, but we're working together to make things right." "What about Havoc's brother?" Peggy asked, her curiosity sparking a deeper understanding among the adults. "The one who was injured in the war," she added, with a sense of connection. Lisa looked at her niece, admiration shining in her eyes. "Yes, that's right. His name is Samuel Reynolds. He stays at the care facility where I sometimes work." Samuel faced immense challenges, paralyzed from the waist down due to a spinal cord injury from an IED in Afghanistan. Iron Jack's expression shifted as recognition dawned on him, landing heavily like a revelation. "Samuel Reynolds," he repeated, "from the 173rd Airborne? Operation Hammer Strike?" Lisa nodded, sensing the weight of the moment. "You knew him?" Iron Jack slumped into a chair, his face pale with realization. "I was the commanding officer on that mission, where he was injured. His unit was under my direct command. The air thickened with the gravity of this revelation, transforming the narrative from a mere conflict to a deeply personal story of loss and responsibility, intertwining the fates of those involved. The attack unfolded under the cover of darkness, a meticulously planned strike that revealed Havoc's strategy had escalated beyond intimidation. The Shadow Viper launched coordinated assaults across Riverstone, targeting businesses owned by veterans and their supporters. The first alarm blared from Tom Mason's hardware store, where security footage captured 3 motorcycles pulling up to the darkened storefront. The riders acted without hesitation. Molotov cocktails shattered the windows, flames engulfing the display as they sped away into the night. Soon, similar reports flooded the Veterans Guard Command Center. Diana's Diner, Mike's Auto Repair, and the VFW Hall, all ablaze. A calculated move to stretch the town's firefighting resources to their limits. Sheriff Roberts sprang into action, mobilizing his deputies while Iron Jack organized the Veterans Guard into response teams, focusing on locations where people might be trapped. They're creating chaos, Sarah Chin noted with determination as she managed communications, forcing us to react rather than act. Iron Jack remained composed, his military experience guiding him through the turmoil. It's a classic diversion tactic, but what are they diverting us from? The answer emerged from an unexpected source. Peggy, who should have been resting, appeared in the doorway of the command center, her loyal companion Max limping by her side. Despite his recent surgery, the German Shepherd had returned home early, embodying resilience and determination, ready to support those in need. In a moment that felt surreal, he navigated the stairs from Peggy's bedroom with remarkable focus. "Dad," Peggy said, her voice filled with urgency. "Max woke me up. Something's wrong." Just then a thunderous explosion shattered the stillness of the night, sending shockwaves that rattled windows miles away. Through the command center's windows, an orange glow lit up the sky to the east, the direction of Diana's Diner. "That wasn't just a firework," Sarah noted, already reaching for her radio. "That was something much more alarming." "An improvised explosive device," Iron Jack affirmed, his face set with determination. "This has escalated beyond street violence. We need to act." As sirens wailed toward the diner, Peggy held onto her father's sleeve, a beacon of hope amidst the chaos. "Dad, please listen to me. It's more than just the diner. Max is trying to tell us something vital." In the turmoil, many might have dismissed a child's concerns, especially one involving a dog's intuition. But Iron Jack understood there was something profound in Peggy's bond with Max. This wasn't just a pet. He was a trained companion, capable of sensing things beyond human perception. "What is he telling you, Pegs?" he asked, leaning in closer. "He keeps looking at the door, then back at me, like when Mom taught him to guide us to something important." Peggy's eyes reflected the distant flames, filled with a sense of urgency. "I think he knows where they're planning to strike next." It seemed implausible. How could Max possess insight into Shadow Viper's plans? Yet Iron Jack had witnessed countless extraordinary things during his service. He couldn't dismiss his daughter's instincts. "Sarah, hold the fort. I need to investigate something." With Peggy and Max leading the charge, they stepped into the chaos of the night. Max, despite his injury, moved with unwavering resolve, guiding them away from the burning businesses and toward Jefferson Elementary School. "The school?" Iron Jack wondered aloud. "Why would they target it?" Then it struck him with a chilling realization. The school wasn't just a building, it was a sanctuary for veterans' children, a symbol of hope in future generations. 3 motorcycles were parked behind the school's gymnasium, their riders working with quiet efficiency in the shadows. Even from a distance, Iron Jack recognized the explosives being placed at key structural points, the same patterns he had seen during his tours in Afghanistan. "Call Roberts," he whispered urgently to Peggy, placing his phone in her small hand. "Tell him we need everyone at the elementary school immediately. Then take Max and find safety in those trees. Do not come out until I come for you." "Dad." May! Peggy's firm voice cut through the tension. The Shadow Vipers were so absorbed in their task that they failed to notice Iron Jack until he was nearly upon them. Their shock was palpable. They hadn't expected any resistance here, believing the veterans were too distracted, by the fires raging across town. "This ends now," Iron Jack declared, his commanding presence echoing the leadership that once inspired troops in battle. The three men turned, one instinctively reaching for a weapon. Iron Jack remained calm, shifting his stance, ready to protect without drawing his own weapon. In a moment of unexpected confrontation, Colonel Morrison stepped into the dim light, revealing Diesel's lean features. "You should be downtown, helping to save those businesses," he said. Iron Jack, unwavering, responded, "And you should know better than to cross this line. Attacking a school? That's something even the Shadow Vipers shouldn't do." Diesel replied, "Fortars are orders," but his tone hinted at hesitation. "Havoc wants Riverstone to understand the consequences of defiance." Iron Jack's voice softened as he challenged, "But is threatening children really who you are now, Diesel? A man who targets elementary schools?" The weight of that question lingered, challenging their very morals. As Diesel opened his mouth to respond, the wail of sirens filled the night air, heralding the arrival of Sheriff Roberts and his deputies. "You need to leave," Iron Jack urged urgently. "All of you, this isn't the fight you want to be part of." Diesel's suspicion flared. "Why warn us?" Iron Jack replied, "Because whatever's happening between Havoc and me doesn't justify this. And my daughter believes there's still hope for those in your club." "I'm choosing to believe that too," Diesel replied, a flicker of recognition softening his hardened expression. Without another word, he signaled to his companions. They left behind their explosives, revving their motorcycles and vanishing into the night, just as the first police cruisers arrived. The following morning brought a new dawn for Riverstone, forever transformed. 4 businesses lay in ruins, yet miraculously, no lives were lost. The state police bomb squad safely removed the unexploded devices from the elementary school, a testament to resilience and hope in the face of darkness. But what unfolded next was a testament to the strength of community spirit. The Shadow Vipers had shown their readiness to escalate violence, but the residents of Riverstone were ready to respond with love and resilience. As the sun rose higher, neighbors began to gather in downtown, armed with tools, building materials, and an unshakable determination. Despite the chaos, the citizens united to rebuild what had been lost. Tom Mason stood amidst the remnants of his beloved hardware store, tears mingling with soot on his face as he watched his neighbors work together, lifting debris and collaborating with contractors who were once rivals. 43 years, he whispered, reflecting on his father's legacy. "I thought it was all gone." "Not gone," Dinah chimed in, arriving with coffee and sandwiches for the workers, even though her own diner had suffered damage. "It's just temporarily unavailable. We'll have you up and running within a week." Tom raised an eyebrow, surprised. "How can you be so sure?" With a warm smile, Diana gestured to the bustling scene around them. "Because that's what Riverstone does. We look after our own." The veterans, having seamlessly integrated into the recovery effort, utilized their military training to transform chaos into action. Iron Jack, once a commanding officer, now guided his fellow veterans as they channeled their skills toward healing the community rather than harm. Peggy and Max observed from a nearby bench, the German shepherd resting but ever watchful over his friend. The morning's efforts had assembled a gathering of townsfolk, creating an inspiring scene of unity and purpose unlike anything Riverstone had seen in years. "Your dog looks like he's feeling better," a voice said beside her. Peggy turned to find Diesel, dressed casually yet carrying an air of quiet strength. Max's head lifted at his approach, sensing no threat but remaining alert. "The veterinarian said he needs to rest," Peggy replied matter-of-factly, "but he doesn't listen well when he thinks I need him." Diesel nodded, understanding the bond between Peggy and her dog. "Military working dogs are like that," he said, showcasing their innate drive to protect. "Your mother trained him well." Peggy's curiosity piqued. "Did you know my mom?" she asked, her tone direct. Diesel paused, choosing his words carefully. "Not personally," he replied, settling at the far end of the bench. "But I worked with whites. She trained in Afghanistan. I was a handler for the 75th Ranger Regiment." Suddenly, Peggy understood. This was why Diesel had intervened to prevent the bombing at the school. He wasn't truly one of them. I could see the tension in Diesel's face as he spoke. "It's complicated, kid. Coming back from those experiences changes you. Suddenly the world feels upside down. Sometimes you find family in unexpected places, even among those who seem dangerous." His words hung heavy in the air, and I could feel the weight of his memories. Havoc has changed since he learned about your dad's connection to his brother. It's become personal for him, and that makes it risky. My heart raced as I asked, is he going to try to hurt my dad? Diesel's voice dropped. He's planning something big, and it's not just property damage this time. He's bringing in people from other chapters, stockpiling explosives. We need to be ready. After last night, he's out for blood. I felt a chill run down my spine. Why are you telling me this? I asked, genuinely curious. Diesel paused, weighing his words. Maybe because you remind me of someone, or maybe because your mother saved my life once, and I never got to thank her. Just as I was processing this revelation, a sudden commotion broke out nearby. A truck had pulled up, bringing lumber and supplies, but it was the driver that made my heart skip a beat. The driver, still in his Shadow Viper vest, stepped down, visibly uneasy under the scrutinizing gaze of the townspeople. Lisa sent me to, he announced, addressing Iron Jack directly. She said you needed 2x4s and roofing nails. I brought everything. The silence that followed was palpable. Iron Jack stepped forward, his expression unreadable, as he assessed the man who belonged to the gang that had just caused so much destruction. And Havoc approved this delivery, he finally asked. The driver's expression tightened. Havoc doesn't know. I don't either. Most of the brothers don't know, he admitted, struggling for the right words. This is just between us. In that moment, something shifted. It was small yet significant. A crack had formed in the resistance that had loomed over Riverstone. Iron Jack nodded once and extended his hand. After a brief hesitation, Snake shook it. We could use some help unloading, Iron Jack said simply. The gesture radiated hope, and I could see Diesel watching, his expression a mix of optimism and concern. Turning back to me, Diesel urged, your father's a good man, better than most, but Havoc won't stop, especially after seeing this. He nodded towards Snake, who was now passing lumber to veterans who had been his adversaries just hours earlier. Then we need to make him stop, I declared, the child's clarity shining through. It's not that simple, Diesel replied. Is it because of his brother, the one my dad heard about during the war? I could see Diesel's surprise as his eyebrows shot up. You know about that? I can see that my dad feels remorse for what happened, and I know Havoc is struggling with anger over his brother's injury and the lack of support afterward. Peggy's brow furrowed, deep in thought. My mom always taught me that understanding someone's anger is the first step toward healing. But some anger runs too deep for understanding to make a difference, he replied. Then we must find another way, Peggy exclaimed, her face lighting up with inspiration. Diesel, do you know where Havoc's brother lives? The one in the wheelchair? Diesel asked, surprised. Samuel? He's at Riverside Care Facility. Why do you ask? Because he holds the key to our solution, Peggy declared confidently. It's not about the explosives or the motorcycles. It's about having a conversation with Samuel. That's how we can change everything. Diesel shook his head slowly, apprehensive. He knew Havoc would never allow it. He had built walls around his brother, limiting visitors and controlling access. Then we must find another approach, Peggy insisted. This situation won't resolve until Havoc listens, and the only voice he trusts is his brother's. Just then, Iron Jack approached, his expression serious as he spotted Diesel next to Peggy. Everything okay here, Pegs? He asked. Diesel was sharing stories about working with Mom's dogs in Afghanistan. Peggy spoke truthfully, but chose her words carefully. Iron Jack scrutinized Diesel with the keen observation of a leader. Is that right? Your wife trained the best dogs in the service, he said as Colonel Diesel prepared to leave. And that one included. He gestured toward Max, who gazed back with insightful eyes. You should take pride in her legacy. I do, Iron Jack replied softly. Every single day. As Diesel walked away, Peggy watched him, her gaze penetrating, seeing the deeper truths lying beneath the surface. Dad, she finally said, I think I know how we can change Havoc's mind. The plan she proposed was both simple and bold, so striking that Iron Jack's initial instinct was to dismiss it. But then he recognized the echoes of Catherine's unique blend of compassion and strategy in her words. It's risky, Peggy, he cautioned. What if it fails? Mom always said that sometimes doing nothing is the greatest risk of all when you could make a difference. Peggy replied passionately. We need to try, Dad. For Riverstone, for Max, for everyone. As rebuilding flourished around them, a father and daughter united in purpose, crafting a plan that held the potential to transform their lives forever. Little did they know, even as they strategized, a storm was brewing, a final showdown that would test their resolve. Havoc, driven by a desire for revenge, was rallying his forces. But this story isn't just about conflict. It's about the strength of family bonds and the power of unity. In the shadows, Diesel and Snake exchanged determined glances, a silent promise to stand together against the odds, embodying the spirit of resilience that can emerge even in the darkest of times. The moment of truth was fast approaching, urging each person to choose their path in the unfolding story. As the sun set over Riverstone, bathing the sky in warm hues of amber and crimson, a sense of hope emerged. At the Morrison home, Peggy's thoughtful strategy began to take shape, echoing her mother Catherine's wisdom in resolving conflict. Iron Jack, though hesitant, recognized the potential for peace. With the support of Sheriff Roberts and the Veterans Guard, they laid the groundwork for a powerful resolution. The energy in the air was palpable, and hope surged as they prepared to confront the challenges ahead. What they didn't foresee was the strength they would find in each other when adversity struck. Suddenly, the lights in the Morrison home went out, casting darkness that felt heavy, yet charged with possibility. The backup generator, a symbol of their preparedness, failed to respond, a setback that would challenge their resolve. "Dad?" Peggy called, her heart racing yet filled with determination. "Stay calm, Pegs," Iron Jack replied, his voice steady, embodying the strength of a protector. Max, their loyal German shepherd, sensed the tension, shifting protectively beside Peggy, ready to face whatever came next. In that moment, amidst uncertainty, they found clarity in their unity, reminding us that even in the face of darkness, the light of love and family can guide the way. In a moment that felt surreal, the first window shattered in the kitchen, sending shards of glass cascading across the floor. A small canister rolled in, releasing a thick cloud of smoke that hung heavily in the air. Max, the loyal German shepherd, whined, shaking his head in confusion. "Dad, something's wrong with Max." Peggy's voice trembled with concern. Just as Iron Jack opened his mouth to reassure her, the front door burst open with a loud splinter, and shadowy figures rushed in with precision. This was no ordinary threat. These were professionals, and their intent was clear. "Secure the girl and the door." A commanding voice boomed through the smoke. Iron Jack had prepared for trouble, but nothing could have prepared him for this level of chaos. He reached for the panic button to alert the Veterans Guard, but a flurry of gunfire shattered that hope, aiming directly at his lifeline. "Peggy, to the bathroom now!" he shouted, realizing their safe room was their last chance. Built with reinforced walls and its own communication system, it promised safety if they could just get there. Max was supposed to lead the way, protecting Peggy as they dashed towards safety, just as Catherine had trained him. But instead, the loyal dog stood frozen, confusion and fear coursing through him. "K9 Victor Echo 3, stand down," a voice commanded through the smoke. In an instant, Max's protective stance faltered, replaced by a rigid stillness that sent a chill down Iron Jack's spine. It was a military override command, a fail-safe protocol embedded in Max's training, one only handlers were supposed to know. "No," Peggy gasped, a wave of understanding washing over her. "Max, come!" But the brave German shepherd remained rooted, his eyes locked on Peggy, torn between his instinct to protect and the command that bound him. Emerging from the smoke was Diesel, a specialized transmitter in his hand that emitted a frequency only military dogs could hear. His expression was a mix of regret and sorrow. "I'm sorry, kid," he said softly to Peggy. "It wasn't supposed to go this way." The hurt in her voice cut deeper than any accusation. "You betrayed us," she said, her heart heavy. "You pretended to be our friend." "I never pretended," Diesel replied, though his actions told a different story. This moment, filled with betrayal, was also a testament to the strength of connection, reminding us that even in darkness, the bonds of love and loyalty can shine through, guiding us toward hope and healing. In moments of chaos, true loyalty shines brightest. As Iron Jack faced multiple attackers, I could hear the sounds of struggle echoing through the hallway. His combat training was clear in his steadfast defense, yet he was outnumbered in his own home. His heart was torn between protecting Peggy and confronting the threat head-on. Just then, Diesel called out, "K9 Victor Echo 3, escort," and Max, caught in a whirlwind of conflict, moved toward Peggy, not as her protector, but as a reluctant captor. "Take her out the back," Diesel ordered, ensuring her safety was paramount. "She's leverage, not a target." As Peggy was led away, Diesel approached the hallway where Iron Jack stood firm against overwhelming odds. Our eyes met across the chaos. Two warriors, once allies, now caught in a conflict neither desired. "You know this isn't right," Iron Jack said, a cut above his eye bleeding as he fought for his principles. "Catherine would be ashamed." The words struck Diesel hard. But before he could respond, Havoc stormed in, radiating a twisted sense of victory. "The great Colonel Morrison, alone and outmaneuvered," he taunted. But I sensed the seeds of doubt planted in the hearts of all present. "Tell me, Colonel, does this remind you of Kalagosh?" Havoc sneered, recalling the ambush my brother's unit faced due to miscalculations. Iron Jack's face tightened at the mention of that dark day. "I sent every resource I had to help," he asserted, his voice firm despite the chaos. But Havoc's bitterness cut deeper. "Too little, too late," he spat. "Now you'll know what it's like to lose everything." Outside, Peggy was being loaded into a waiting van, yet she remained calm, observing her surroundings with sharp focus. Though Max followed commands that left him docile, Peggy cataloged details, searching for patterns in the midst of crisis. One detail caught her attention. The absence of Snake among the Shadow Vipers hinted at a potential fracture in Havoc's ranks, and perhaps even a glimmer of hope for unexpected assistance. The van doors closed, separating Peggy from her father and home. But as she gazed through the window, hope flickered in her heart. The Veterans Guard motorcycles were arriving in the distance, a sign that help was on the way. Inside, Iron Jack was grappling with the escalating violence from Havoc and the Shadow Vipers. Despite his training, he was overwhelmed, but his spirit remained unbroken. "Your daughter will be unharmed," Havoc promised, tying Iron Jack to a chair. "But you must agree to my terms. The Veterans Guard disbands." Little did they know the bonds of love and loyalty would prove stronger than any threat. In a moment of immense pressure, Iron Jack faced a heart-wrenching ultimatum. As he grappled with the threat to his daughter, he felt an overwhelming sense of helplessness, a feeling all too familiar since the day he lost Catherine. Yet, in this darkest hour, he knew he had to summon every ounce of strength and courage he possessed to protect Peggy. As the van carrying her traveled through the dimly lit streets of Riverstone, his thoughts were consumed by the unbreakable bond they shared, one that had been forged through love and loss. Inside the van, Peggy looked across at her loyal companion Max, who sat rigidly, a shadow of the dog she knew. But she refused to surrender. "Max," she whispered, extending her hand, just as her mother had taught her. "It's me. It's Peggy." She recalled the love they shared, the countless nights he had stood guard over her mother. "Remember when Mom got sick?" She continued gently. "You were her protector until the very end." Slowly she saw a flicker in Max's eyes, the light of their Shimon fighting to break through the darkness of his programming. Peggy leaned closer, her voice a soft melody of hope. "Before she passed, Mom told me that nothing could sever the bond between a bone and its true family. Love is more powerful than any command," she reminded him. In that moment, something began to shift within Max. The rigid compliance started to waver, replaced by a spark of recognition. Meanwhile, at the Morrison home, Havoc received news that shook his confidence. "What do you mean he's gone? Samuel can't just leave," he exclaimed, the panic in his voice echoing his waning control. Havoc's frustration turned to confusion as he demanded answers, realizing that his carefully laid plans were unraveling. "Find him now," he barked, but even as he commanded, the air thickened with uncertainty. Iron Jack, despite his constraints, sensed the change and felt a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, love would triumph in the face of adversity, guiding them all back to safety. "This changes nothing." "It changes everything," replied Iron Jack, his voice steady and filled with conviction. "Because you've never truly grasped what matters. It's not about territory or respect. It's about family. And you've just lost control of yours." As he spoke, the sound of an approaching convoy could be heard, making its way to Riverside Care Facility, where Samuel Reynolds had been living since his injury in Afghanistan. Leading this unexpected parade was Sheriff Roberts' police cruiser, followed by Lisa Morrison's sedan and a Veterans Guard motorcycle escort, a testament to the power of community and support. Inside Lisa's car, Sarah Chin checked her watch, embodying the discipline of her military background. "We're right on schedule," she said confidently. If Peggy's intel was accurate, Samuel's security detail would be light, with most of the forces focused on another mission. "Let's hope she's right," Lisa replied, gripping the steering wheel tightly, her determination unwavering. Meanwhile, Samuel sat in his wheelchair by the window of room 217, the soft glow of a reading lamp illuminating his thoughtful expression. Though his body bore the marks of his sacrifice, his spirit remained unbroken as he turned the pages of Hemingway's For Whom the Bell Tolls, contemplating the world outside. A soft knock at the door signaled the arrival of visitors he had anticipated, yet their identities surprised him. "Mr. Reynolds," Sheriff Roberts greeted him with respect as he stepped inside. "I apologize for the late hour. We need to discuss your brother." Samuel's eyes widened as he took in the group. A familiar nurse from the hospital, a woman in Veterans Guard attire, and then the face that stirred a whirlwind of emotions. "Colonel Morrison," he acknowledged, his voice rough but filled with a mix of recognition and challenge. "I wondered if you'd ever muster the courage to face me." Iron Jack's sister, Lisa, took a step forward, her expression resolute. "Samuel, your brother Marcus has taken a young girl hostage, a 9-year-old child, the colonel's daughter." Samuel's face remained carefully composed, but his grip on the armrest tightened, reflecting his internal struggle. "Marcus has always had a temper, but kidnapping a child, that seems out of character." "Your brother has changed," Sarah Chin said gently but firmly. "The Shadow Vipers have transformed under his leadership. They're no longer the same gang you once knew." "And why should I trust you?" Samuel countered, his gaze returning to Iron Jack. "The man who sent my unit into an ambush without proper intelligence?" In that moment, the weight of the past felt almost palpable. Iron Jack stepped forward, locking eyes with Samuel. Did Marcus share what really happened at Kalagush? Samuel's voice, filled with emotion, replied, "He didn't need to. I was there. For 17 long hours, 3rd Platoon held the line, facing unimaginable challenges and loss." Iron Jack nodded, acknowledging the painful truth that resonated between them. 4 brave souls, Sergeant Miller, Corporal Watts, Specialist Jensen, and Rodriguez, each name etched in memory, each face a reminder of sacrifice. Samuel seemed taken aback by Iron Jack's knowledge. "You remember their names?" Iron Jack affirmed, "I remember all 37 men in that valley. I carry their stories with me every day." In that moment, a flicker of understanding passed between them. Perhaps not forgiveness, but a crack in the wall of bitterness that had built up over time. "What Marcus might not have mentioned," Iron Jack continued thoughtfully, "is that I was en route to your position when orders came to turn back. The situation was dire. Intelligence warned of a second ambush awaiting the extraction team." Iron Jack paused, the memory heavy on his heart. "I disobeyed that order. I turned off our radio. We pressed on." Samuel's brow furrowed in confusion. "But if you were coming for us..." "We took heavy fire just 3 clicks from your position. Our helicopter went down. By the time we reached you on foot, those 4 heroes had already given their lives." Iron Jack's voice was steady, though the weight of his words reflected the pain he carried. "I failed them. I failed you. That truth has never escaped me." Meanwhile, in the Shadow Viper's van, Peggy worked tirelessly to reach Max, battling the control Diesel had over him. Slowly, Max's internal struggle began to emerge. Subtle whines, shifting postures, and flickers of recognition in his eyes. "You're wasting your time," Grinder scoffed, a heavy-set biker with a hardened demeanor. "That dog's been trained to follow commands. He won't respond until Diesel releases him." "You don't understand, Max," Peggy spoke softly, her voice filled with warmth. "We're military working dogs. The bond we share runs deeper than any command." She gently extended her hand, making a subtle gesture filled with love and understanding, different from before. During Catherine's final months, a unique connection had blossomed between her and Max. In an instant, the change was profound. Max's rigid posture softened, breaking free from his training as he pressed his head against Peggy's chest with a soft whine that felt like an apology. "This is impossible," Grinder muttered, reaching for his radio, but love was breaking through the barriers. Diesel, the devoted dog, instinctively broke protocol to protect his charge. With a quiet signal from Peggy, Max sprang into action, positioning himself between the child and the looming threat. He didn't need to attack. His presence alone spoke volumes. The child was safe under his watch. Meanwhile, Samuel Reynolds was confronted with a painful truth that could reshape everything he thought he knew about his brother's anger. "If what you're saying is true," he said slowly, "then Marcus has been misplacing his blame all these years." "Your brother needed someone to hold accountable," Iron Jack acknowledged, understanding the weight of their shared struggles. "I see that now, but what I can't grasp is why he resorted to kidnapping my daughter, who has harmed no one." Samuel closed his eyes, feeling the emotional toll. "After my injury, I was lost, filled with anger, pushing everyone away, including Marcus. He had taken on multiple jobs to manage the costs, and when he finally began to open up, it was always about his struggles, about feeling abandoned. He absorbed that anger as his own," Sarah Chen observed. "He's always been protective," Samuel agreed. "Too protective sometimes. But this is beyond protection. This isn't just about vengeance. It's about healing." Sheriff Roberts' voice was steady as he shared the unsettling news. "Your brother has military-grade explosives, and they've already set off one at Diana's diner. Thankfully, no one was hurt, but we believe more attacks are planned." Samuel felt the weight of these words. "Marcus wouldn't do that. He couldn't," he replied, disbelief in his eyes. "He's not the brother you once knew," Lisa said softly. "Just as Jack isn't the same man from his time in Afghanistan. Life changes us, sometimes in ways we can't foresee." Samuel looked deeply into Iron Jack's eyes, seeking clarity. "Why are you here instead of simply sending the police?" "Because this isn't just about justice anymore," Iron Jack replied earnestly. "It's about breaking the cycle before more lives are harmed, including your brother's." "What can I do?" Samuel asked, feeling the weight of responsibility. "Help us reach him," Lisa implored. "He will listen to you." Samuel realized that Marcus had built this conflict around a belief that it aligned with what he thought his brother would want. The gravity of these words hit Samuel hard. For years he had clung to his anger, fixating on the faceless colonel he believed had forsaken his men. He had never explicitly urged Marcus toward revenge, yet he hadn't discouraged it either. "Take me to him," Samuel finally said, determination in his voice. "But I need your promise that he won't be harmed if we can resolve this peacefully." "You have my word," Sheriff Roberts assured him. As they prepared to leave, Samuel locked eyes with Iron Jack, a silent understanding passing between them. "This doesn't make us even, Colonel." "I never expected it would," Iron Jack replied. "Some debts can't be repaid." Yet amidst the turmoil at the Morrison home, a flicker of hope emerged. The dedicated Veterans Guard stood firm, their resolve unyielding as they protected Iron Jack's life. Inside, Havoc felt the weight of chaos, his plans slipping away as he realized his brother had left the care facility. "We will find him," he declared, determination igniting within him. "I don't care how. Samuel cannot meet with Morrison. Do you understand?" Diesel's calm demeanor belied the tension outside. "It's over, Havoc," he said softly, "but sometimes, even in dire situations, there is a way forward." The girl was a beacon of hope, possibly breaking the chains of control. "The Colonel's sister has your brother." Diesel's words hung in the air, reminding Havoc that there is always a path to redemption, even when it feels impossible. "It's not over until I say it's over," Havoc replied, though his heart felt the truth in Diesel's words. "There's still a way out," Diesel urged gently. "Release the Colonel, return the girl unharmed, face lesser charges." "And give up everything we've built, everything I've sacrificed for Samuel?" Havoc laughed bitterly, but deep down a glimmer of doubt flickered. Is this what Samuel would truly want? Iron Jack's voice, steady yet compassionate, echoed through the chaos. "Terrorism? Kidnapping? Hurting a child?" Havoc found himself at a crossroads. Before he could respond, his phone rang, displaying a familiar number. "Samuel?" he answered, uncertainty creeping into his voice. "Where are you? Are you safe?" "I'm safe," Marcus replied, his voice a steady anchor amidst the storm. "But we need to talk about Colonel Morrison. about the truth of what happened in Afghanistan. As Havoc listened, his world shifted. The hatred that had fueled him for years began to unravel, challenged by his brother's words. "That can't be true," he protested, but deep down he felt the foundations of his vengeance tremble. "He tried to save us, Marcus, against orders." The realization hit Havoc like a wave of clarity. "I've spent years blaming the wrong man," he admitted, his heart heavy with regret. "And now I find you've become what we both despise, someone who hurts the innocent." The truth struck Havoc hard, leaving him shaken. "What have I done?" he whispered, grappling with the weight of his choices. "Something that can still be fixed," Samuel responded with unwavering hope. "But only if you choose to end this now, please, Marcus. No more violence. Not in my name?" As these words sank in, Havoc felt the possibility of redemption bloom within him, just as the van carrying Peggy approached a new beginning at the rendezvous point. In an unexpected turn of events, the meeting point shifted from the Shadow Viper's warehouses to an abandoned gas station on the outskirts of town. There I found an unexpected group waiting for us. Snake, alongside several Shadow Vipers who had bravely chosen to reject Havoc's destructive leadership. "Grinder," Snake said with a tense acknowledgement, glancing at the girl beside me. "This has gone too far." I sensed Grinder's internal struggle, caught between loyalty and conscience. "Havoc's orders," he began, but Snake interrupted, his tone firm. "Kidnapping a kid? Explosives at a school? That's not what the Shadow Vipers stand for. That's not what we signed up for." Just as tensions threatened to boil over, the sound of approaching motorcycles broke the silence. It wasn't the backup we expected, it was Diesel, arriving alone. His serious demeanor spoke volumes as he dismounted and quickly assessed the situation. "It's over," he stated with quiet determination. "Havoc's talking to Samuel. The truth about Afghanistan is coming to light." As the first light of dawn illuminated Riverstone, it became clear that the morning would not be marked by destruction, as the Shadow Vipers had intended, but rather by the hopeful beginnings of reconciliation. Sheriff Roberts stood on the steps of the town hall, addressing the press and our anxious community with a calm assurance born from a lifetime of witnessing violence, yet always believing in the power of peace. At approximately 2:17 this morning, Marcus Havoc Reynolds surrendered himself into custody, he announced, his weary face reflecting the weight of the night's events. "All hostages have been recovered safely. The immediate threat to our community has ended." But his brief statement couldn't capture the deep emotions involved. Samuel Reynolds, wheeled into the Morrison home by Sarah Chin, faced his brother across a chasm much deeper than mere distance. Havoc was confronted with the harsh truth about Afghanistan, revealed by the one person whose suffering had initially fueled his vendetta. In that moment, Havoc collapsed under the weight of his realizations. Iron Jack, still bound to his chair, watched silently as 7 years of misdirected anger melted into profound remorse. "I never wanted this," Samuel told his brother, tears streaming down his face. "I never asked for vengeance, only for you to help me rebuild my life." Ultimately, it wasn't a dramatic confrontation that eased the crisis, but the simple power of truth spoken by a brother who loved deeply, even in difficult times. This truth was heard by a man who had lost his way, but still possessed the ability to recognize it. Soon after, Diesel and Snake orchestrated a touching reunion between Peggy and her father, a decision that would forever change their place within the Shadow Vipers. As they arrived at the Morrison home, Peggy and Max rushed in, filled with hope. There was Iron Jack receiving medical attention for his injuries, while Samuel shared a quiet moment with his brother under the watchful eye of Sheriff Roberts. "Dad!" Peggy called out, her heart full as she ran to embrace her father, with Max, limping but brave, by her side. Iron Jack wrapped her in his arms, his heart overflowing with relief and love. "You're okay," he whispered into her hair, a tender promise amidst the uncertainty. "Max protected me," she replied simply, reminding him of their mother's wise words. Iron Jack looked up, meeting Diesel's eyes as he stood quietly in the doorway. In that moment, former adversaries found a bond forged through trials of honor and choice. "Thank you, Iron Jack," Diesel said sincerely, "for bringing her home safely." A nod passed between them, a soldier's acknowledgement of bravery. "Your wife trained her dogs well," Diesel continued, glancing at Max with admiration. "And your daughter, she's truly remarkable." Meanwhile, the wheels of justice turned steadily, ensuring that Havoc faced serious charges for his destructive actions, an assurance that he would serve time for his choices. The community rallied together as those who had strayed from the path of darkness now chose redemption. 1 month after what Riverstone now affectionately called the incident, the town was on the mend. Diana's diner reopened, sporting a fresh look yet retaining the warmth that made it a beloved gathering place. Tom Mason's hardware store gleamed with its final coat of paint, a labor of love from volunteers, including some former Shadow Vipers who sought a new beginning after Havoc's arrest. Iron Jack faced his own battles, grappling with PTSD from that fateful night. In the first week after the turmoil, sleep eluded him, and he stayed close to Peggy, determined to protect the light they had fought so hard to keep safe. It was Peggy who took the brave step forward, approaching her father with the heartfelt honesty that truly reflected her unique perspective. "Dad," she said one morning over breakfast, "you're letting your fears take hold more than the bad men ever scared me." Her words, spoken without judgment, cut through Iron Jack's anxiety in a way that professional counseling had struggled to do. That very afternoon, he found the courage to attend his first Veterans Affairs support group in years, encouraged by Max, whose own journey of healing paralleled his master's. In Riverstone, a remarkable transformation began to unfold with Samuel Reynolds, who had long been isolated in a care facility. He requested a transfer to the town's smaller assisted living center, where he felt a sense of belonging, and soon volunteered to help create a recovery program for former Shadow Vipers eager to reintegrate into society. "I know what it feels like to lose your identity," Samuel shared with the skeptical town council. "I understand how easy it is to wrap your life in anger, thinking it's safer than confronting your pain." He spoke passionately. "These men need what I craved: purpose, community, and a chance to redefine themselves beyond their past mistakes." Initially, his proposal faced strong resistance. Diana, whose beloved diner had been destroyed, voiced the concerns of many. "My family built that diner in 1962, she said, her emotions spilling over. "My grandmother served pie to civil rights workers planning protests. My mother welcomed veterans returning from Vietnam when few others would. In one night, they took all that history from us. Why should we help rebuild lives when they so willingly destroyed ours?" Yet it was Peggy who offered a poignant response that shifted the atmosphere in the room. Standing tall beside Samuel's wheelchair, her red hair neatly pulled back, she spoke with a maturity that belied her 9 years. "My mom trained dogs that others deemed too aggressive," she began, her voice ringing clear in the hushed chamber. "She always said every dog deserves a second chance to learn a better way to be in the world. People are more complex than dogs, but the principle remains. The Shadow Vipers acted out of hurt and anger. Perhaps, with the right guidance, they can learn a better path now." 6 months later, Bay Riverstone celebrated a beautiful milestone with its first community integration fair, an event that highlighted the progress of the rehabilitation program and fostered connections between once opposing sides. In the lively town square, veterans and reformed Shadow Vipers joined hands, staffing booths that offered everything from motorcycle maintenance workshops to employment resources for those with criminal records, demonstrating the power of community and second chances. Max, now a symbol of resilience, captivated a crowd of both children and adults as he showcased his service dog skills alongside Peggy. His training shone through in every precise response to her commands. But what truly enchanted onlookers was the deep bond they shared, a partnership that transcended mere obedience. As Diana brought Peggy a refreshing lemonade, she smiled and said, "Your mother would be proud of both of you." Peggy paused, reflecting thoughtfully, and simply replied, "I think she knows." This moment of connection reminded us that love and understanding can bridge any divide. Max continues to honor the lessons Peggy instilled in him, proving that love and training endure beyond time. The fair reached a remarkable moment that none in Riverstone could have anticipated just months before. Iron Jack and Samuel Reynolds stood together on the small stage in the town square, addressing the community about the power of understanding and the importance of reconciliation. 7 years ago, in a valley in Afghanistan, our lives changed forever due to circumstances beyond our control. Iron Jack began, his voice strong and commanding, resonating with the attentive crowd. The pain from that day distorted our perspectives, leading to misunderstandings that fractured relationships and communities. What I failed to see, and what took me too long to realize, Samuel added from his wheelchair, his presence radiating strength as the afternoon sun illuminated him, is that vengeance does not equate to justice. It only spreads more pain, affecting innocent lives. 1 year after Havoc first confronted Peggy at Mike's Gas and Goal, Riverstone celebrated the grand opening of the Catherine Thompson Canine Training Center. This facility, dedicated to training service dogs for veterans, children with special needs, and first responders, stood as a beacon of hope. Made possible through the combined efforts of the Veterans Guard, generous community donations, and a substantial anonymous gift rumored to be from Diesel, it symbolized transformation and healing. Peggy joyfully cut the ribbon with Mac proudly by her side, his service dog vest now adorned with a new patch designating him as the center's senior training consultant. Iron Jack watched with pride, arm in arm with Lisa, whose bond with Snake had flourished through their shared journey. Samuel Reynolds, now the center's outreach coordinator, beamed with hope for the future. As Peggy stood before the crowd, a bittersweet smile graced her lips. Before she passed, my mom told me something profound, she shared, her voice steady despite the emotion weaving through her words. She said, dogs remind us of a truth we often overlook. Loyalty isn't just about standing up for someone. It's about guiding them towards a brighter path. Mac has been my guiding light, and I hope the dogs trained here can inspire others in the same way. As the ceremony came to a close and laughter filled the air, Sheriff Roberts found himself next to Diana, taking in the sight of former adversaries now engaged in the warm conversations. Did you ever think we'd witness this day? Diana mused, pointing toward Iron Jack and Samuel, who were animatedly discussing future programs for the center. Roberts chuckled, his smile deepening as he shook his head. I'll never underestimate the power of a determined 9-year-old and her loyal dog. Or the strength of truth, Diana chimed in softly. Sometimes it just takes one brave soul to speak up when it matters most. As the sun began to set, Peggy and Max showcased one last training exercise. Not a military protocol, but a heartfelt game of trust crafted by Catherine years ago. The German Shepherd moved in perfect harmony with the little girl, their shadows uniting against the transformed backdrop of Riverstone, a testament to the healing power of understanding. Courage can emerge from the most unexpected places, reminding us that even the deepest wounds can mend with compassion. Just like Peggy and Mac, we all face moments when the world feels overwhelming, and it's in these moments that we find healing through connection and kindness. Our journey reflects the universal experiences of loss, misplaced blame, and the heartfelt path toward reconciliation. Just like Iron Jack, we may find ourselves grappling with past regrets. And like Samuel, we can learn to navigate through bitterness, discovering understanding and healing along the way. This tale reminds us of the incredible resilience we forge through our lives, teaching us that real strength lies not in intimidation, but in the courage to show compassion, even when it feels most challenging.